Do bosses like Michael Scott actually exist? And if you work or worked for one, what's your craziest story? My first boss in America, I was 21. He was Asian American. I had never seen The Office but noted the absurdity. He would get free potato chips from a guy in a company truck and would stuff his cheeks in the middle of telling me what to do. He always offered some. Fired a coworker for screaming some racist stuff at me by just yanking her out the door. Called another coworker a cub or a baby lion because she was tiny with wild unruly hair. Would do a small mini roar whenever she was about to report for her shift or when I mentioned her name. Ran around the place with a wig on his head imitating me. Brought his daughter to work and give her piggyback rides in the office. Would ask me to take videos. Would talk to black people in a black way. He would say "what's up shorty" to the ladies and "what's poppin'." Called the guys Tyrone and would say "shit" in his most convincing black voice. It was actually pretty good. Would ask me to teach him random Arabic words so he could yell them sporadically in the middle of the day. He always got the accent right. Had an open door policy and would do shots in his office. Started a small chicken farm in the back of the building and would give out whole chickens to the staff. Had me and a coworker try to slaughter one time. I couldn't and nicked it just a little bit and shrieked, spraying all three of us with blood. Received a visit from the city people to tell him he couldn't keep chickens in back. He was rounding the main floor with a small basket of freshly laid eggs just as they were asking for him. Did the chicken farm again the next summer, this time with a small garden growing squash, cucumber, corn, etc. to disguise the chicken coop. Happily gave out vegetables along with chicken. Would be extremely proud of taking home a tray of his own eggs to his children. Ate 2 fresh eggs every morning. Bought a wok to work to deep fry sausages in. Sometimes made lunch in the back. The entire floor would smell like food and he would round us all, 3 of us, to his office to eat. Would regularly fall asleep under his desk. The snoring was so loud you could hear it in the front. Once a client asked what that noise was and I said it was the plumbing. Woke up after his naps looking puffy but acting as if nothing happened. Would immediately go next door for a cherry coke. Would constantly eat hard candy to stay awake during the day. Ate too many edibles at a party I hosted once and passed out. Told me to hire someone but when he saw the girl did a comical thing with his face, eyebrows raised and eyes big, think Ken Jeong, because she was having trouble fitting into her chair. She was a bigger girl. Took away chairs the next day because they encouraged us not to concentrate on the client. The girl was a no-call no-show the following week. Had a love-hate relationship with a groundhog not long into his farming venture. He never caught the guy. Once threw a cricket at me from the very opposite end of the office floor. He and another co-worker kept such straight faces as I finally convinced myself the cricket flung itself at me. I watched the cameras at the end of the day only to see them do it. I'm still traumatized. Has an office to this day full of the weirdest collection of things. A few feather from favorite chickens of his that he had since consumed all named and dated, a rabbit paw someone gave him, a goat's hoof, a framed quote I told him told to me by a very high homeless person. I don't remember the rest. It's just an odd place to go into. Had a hard time growing a beard and would ask me what I thought of the progress of his soup taster. Nicest boss I've ever had. Well-meaning if a little racially insensitive, all while being fascinated by other people's cultures. He would buy different cuisines for us to try each week. Gave bonuses because he knew the job didn't pay much, so there was always a nice surprise. He paid my former co-worker when she had to stay home all through her husband's COVID. Also, he loves llamas, alpacas, baby goats, and when I showed him how to use Reddit he would almost always send me an alpaca photo. I still get a photo now and then. Also 3 years after leaving he still sends me photos of his illegal farm and recently asked me to post his cucumbers on Reddit. Edit. Thank you for the gold, guys. I'm glad you found my boss as amusing as I did. Also, I forgot to add that he fell into a poison ivy bush once and didn't know right away. He ran around screaming until we sat him in his office semi-undressed and put medicine on his wounds. He was so miserable for days, it was hard to watch. He dove head first into the wall, asleep once and needed to go to the doctor and get 3 stitches on his busted lip. He came to work that morning with a huge lip and kept having to explain himself all day. We kept joking his wife was beating him up. He still insisted on snacking as usual. At one point he sipped ketchup with a straw. My boss is certainly Michael Scott-esque. When I first started I was essentially Pam as well, since I was both receptionist and his assistant to some extent. My favorite story was back when we were prepping for a conference. Some context, he's terrible with the English language in general and will mangle phrases and descriptions to no end, how the turntables. So on a group call he kept talking about wanting a golden hamster ball to do giveaways with. Was raving about how great it would be spinning around while people walked by, all the while everyone on the call was just sitting in confused silence. However, by that point, I had become so good at decoding his nonsense that I knew he was referring to a gold raffle cage and sent him image privately asking if it's what he was thinking. To this day he still talks about the fact I can read his mind and must be psychic. And he still refers to it as a hamster ball. All in all, he's a pretty nice guy and a solid boss. Hired me based on a gut feeling and has been decent to me ever since. I think I knew it would be a good fit when during the interview he tried to tell me about the 4 pillars of the company and forgot one. Told me later it was knowledge. I had one, and these are just a few quick stories. He asked me how much I weighed during my interview. One time he was considering selling the company to a Japanese company, and while walking them around the building he was heard saying, "We really bombed the hell out of you, huh?" He got on the intercom and interrupted everyone by yelling for someone to bring him the football team's schedule. I have video of him telling a really cringy joke during a sales meeting. You could see at least one person covering their face in embarrassment. One time he told me to call his assistant and have her bring him a bag of coffee and his 5-pound dumbbell. He had a secret facelift. He was mysteriously gone for 3 weeks and came back with a beard. I ended up with a box of pictures from the 70s with an exotic dancer giving him a lap dance. In the conference room. Same furniture. One time I watched his business partner go down the potluck line, tasting everything with the same fork. At the end of the line, he stuck his used fork into the cake. I haven't eaten at a work buffet since. Honestly, these are just the ones I immediately remember. It was 5 years of this. Edit. This seemed relevant. One time he got new patio furniture and sent the guys from the shipping department to put it together at his house. Orders did not go out that day. Edit 2. He had a huge closet where he'd hoard random shit. He was a total pack rat and his wife didn't let him keep junk at home. I was looking for something one day and found a box labeled watches with dead batteries. He saved an entire box of watches that he knew didn't currently work, and also knew how to fix that. But instead, he just kept them in a box. I worked for a woman as her personal assistant/cat sitter. She was super rich and off the deep end nuts. She had me order a mannequin online, and then paid me to take one of the mannequin legs to Nordstrom to try and see what suitcase I could buy that would fit the dismembered mannequin body, because she wanted to fly with the mannequin to Pittsburgh to display as her daughter, dressed in her daughter's clothes, at that daughter's graduation celebration. Buying the mannequin was a whole thing too. She kept trying to get me to order from adult doll websites because she didn't get it. Lamau. I have a feeling you might have been an accessory to a murder/dismemberment and not even realize it. Or she went the long way around ordering her own sex doll. Dressed in her daughter's clothes. Oh no, step mannequin, what are you doing? Like this video and subscribe to Web Convos for more Reddit stories.